Detailing your car can be a very intimidating experience for some people, especially when it comes to this modern world of ceramic coatings and high-tech processes. We're going to find out today if regular guys like me can use some of these high-end professional grade products on a normal car. So our friends from Robertson Racing sent us a little kit that they suggested for us that kind of will do everything we might need to do. And the area we're going to concentrate on today is the stuff over on this side. We're going to talk about a little bit of polishing to get that finish shined up a little bit. And then we're going to talk about ceramic coating, which is basically the new hotness when it comes to putting a practically semi-permanent, very, very long-term, shiny protective coating on your car. I mean, you could call them a super wax. It sort of does the same thing where it provides a transparent barrier over the paint. It fills in microscopic imperfections in the paint. But because of the actual compounding of the chemical, it's a much longer lasting protectant, and it's much harder. This stuff, they call it actually a 9H hardness, so it actually resists things like sandblasting and rock chips, and it degrades much slower from UV and from normal road wear. This stuff, properly stored, is going to last you, over a year is what they claim. So these are the products that are actually going to do the shining and do the protecting. Two levels of polish essentially here. We've got number one, shine, which is a little bit more of a coarse shining polishing compound, and then the number two, shine, which is a much more fine shine compound, a lot less of an abrasive action in this one. This one is for the number one is for the initial coarse polishing. Now again, not everybody is going to need this. Okay, so let's just get started here and let's dig into it. So we'll be using a buffer for this. You can also do this by hand. It goes a lot quicker with a buffer, and it's going to be a lot easier with a buffer because you're going to get a more consistent sort of movement across the surface. I'm also going to recommend that when you do this process, invest in some clean pads, whether they are foam pads or whether they are synthetic wool pads like this. Always have more than you think you will need, and you can clean them in your washing machine. I wouldn't do them with other clothes. You can just do a specific load of cleaning towels. Always have more pads than you think you're going to need, and always have way more microfiber towels than you think you are going to need. They're cheap, and it's just easier to grab a fresh one every time instead of constantly trying to find a clean area, and then you deposit a little bit of stuff you've taken off on the surface and you're always chasing it around. So spend the extra 10 bucks, buy a whole bunch of this stuff and have it around. So we're going to start with the number one shiner. I don't know that you have to shake it, but I just feel better doing that. And we are going to apply just a couple of globs on our fresh polishing wheel here. You don't need much. That's how much we're starting with. You can kind of tell if you've used enough when you first apply it. If it immediately absorbs into the surface, you haven't used enough, and if it smears all over the place, you've used too much. And you also want to use the right pressure on the buffer. So how do I know what the right pressure is? Well, when you turn one of these things on, it's going to shake all over the place. You want to use enough pressure that you are controlling all of the motion, no more, no less. If it's shaking uncontrollably, you're not using enough. If you are using more pressure than it needs to control that motion so you can move it in the direction you want, you're using too much. So just basically let the machine do the work. We'll start by sort of applying some of this stuff to the surface right from our pad, and we'll hit the button and get to it. So despite what you may have learned from the Karate Kid, what our friend Tim McNair tells us is instead of working in circular motions with this buffer, you want to use more of a crosshatch motion, back and forth, up and down, and that ensures you're going to get a little bit better coverage. So how do you know you're done? How do you know you've done this enough? Well, tip Robertson gave us is once the product is sort of emulsified entirely into the surface, you've probably done a pretty good job. You can see we've got just sort of a haze here on the surface, no more real white areas of product. So we should be right about the point where once we're confident we've gotten the entire surface, we can go ahead and take it off of there. So here's where you're going to start going through a lot of microfiber towels. But trust me, it's worth it to have extras. It just makes the whole process easier. So when you take this first step off, this first more coarse compound, do not be alarmed. First off, it's not like taking off wax. It doesn't come off and instantly leave a slippery surface. If you're used to just waxing your car, and then as you wipe it off, it just starts to feel slippery and polished, that's not the effect you get here. And you start to panic a little bit if you're like me and think, my God, what have I done? But you can already see that our surface has improved. And you can actually feel, as you're running the cloth over it, that the surface is considerably smoother than it was when we started. But it's still a little bit dull. It's very, very smooth, but it's a little bit dull. It's like Michael McDonald, basically, is what's going on here. So that is where the next level comes in. Okay, so everything's off of there. We basically are probably not going to use this one again. We might use it to take the initial application of the next level stuff off, but make sure you've got all of that off of there. Look at the reflections. It helps having very, very harsh lighting when you do this as well. We've got every single light that we own burning on this thing, and it's doing a pretty good job at lighting it up. You want to keep a separate pad for any different compounds you're using. So basically this will be our number one pad. We'll actually put the pad with the compound so we know the next time we use it, that's the pad we're using for that compound. And we'll switch to a fresh pad for the number two, the final polish. Again, our first application on the pad will be a little bit heavier than subsequent applications. I'm using, 4 or 5 small pea-sized dots on there for our very first application. And we'll take it and give it a nice smear to pre-distribute it a little bit. And then, just like step one, crosshatch pattern, hitting the entire surface with gentle pressure, enough to control the machine and let the machine do the work. So this is the step that's going to produce your shine. The first step, prep the surface. It was your what you'd call your paint correction step. It's essentially preparing a good surface for you to shine with the second compound, which is this stuff. So we've done 2 steps of polishing on this fender. Last step is to lock it in with our Nano Ceramic Protectant. And that's the moment of truth, because once you lay that stuff on there, whatever this is locked in. So make sure it's clean, make sure any contaminant, any dust is off of there, and we'll show you how to use the ceramic coating. You probably could tell from the fancy box and the nice packaging, this is not cheap. This is not stuff you're going to go to Walmart and add to your grocery bill for a couple of bucks. This is specialty stuff, but it's also really, really good. If you walk into a professional detailer, this is the kind of stuff they're going to be using And to do an entire car, you don't need much. I can almost guarantee you that the first application of this stuff that you do, you're probably going to use too much. So be very judicious in applying it to the pad. I'm just gonna basically put a few dots of the stuff on the pad here. We'll put that safely down. You know, I've used hardly any splashes on there at all. And now we'll just apply it right to the surface. And again, just like you were polishing, you can work in a grid to make sure you get everything. This is not something that you have to work into the surface. This is just something that you want to lay down smoothly on the surface. All of your work, all of your surface manipulation is done at this point. If it isn't, this is not the step you should be at right now. All right, so there we go. Our entire fender is coated, and now we just have to wait for the surface to dry a little bit. We'll take off the excess, and that wet, shiny gloss that you see right now will largely stay behind. It will continue to look like a wet, glossy surface for all intents and purposes, and have the exact same water repellent properties as a good car wax, same shine qualities as a good car wax, and last a heck of a lot longer. We are ready to take the excess back off there. Now, unlike wax, you're not going to get sort of a hazy overlayer with this stuff. There's not a lot of carrier fluid in this ceramic product, this Nano Ceramic Protect, that sort of evaporates and leaves a haze behind. So you're just going to have to kind of gauge when the overall gloss has reduced a little bit and you're ready to take the excess off. So just like with our last products, we'll start with a previously used rag to get the bulk of the stuff off the surface and just sort of wipe it off of there. So as you take this off, this is when you're going to start to get that very slick, very smooth, waxed feel to the surface. After our first two steps, we gained a lot of smoothness, so the microfiber towel wasn't grabbing the surface as much. Now we can definitely feel that the overall level of friction on the surface is just considerably reduced. So what's the verdict here? Can you actually put a professional grade shine and protection package on a car normally that would be applied by a professional detailer? Can you do that and be just a normal everyday ding dong like me? Clearly you can. It is, believe me, I am just as surprised, if not more, than you are with how easy it was to use this stuff from Robertson Racing and their Nano Ceramic Protect. Now I just want to stand here and look at it, but we have to go. Thank you for hanging out in the garage with us here at Grassroots Motorsports Magazine. If you like the content that we are making, you can go right down here. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit whatever they call the like button on YouTube, the thumbs up, or whatever it is. If you're watching us on Facebook, please do like our page. Please throw us a like, please throw us a share. And as always, you can check us out on the web at grassrootsmotorsports.com. We'll see you in the garage next time, where I will still be polishing and shining my little MR2 because I am so impressed with how it came out. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Support brands that support Grassroots Motorsports. Get your chemical solutions from CRC Industries. Visit crcindustries.com to learn more.